Hi everyone, we're going to get started now. Thank you for joining us this morning for Putting the Power into Power BI, part of our educational webinar series here at KTL. My name is Mary Truis. I'm part of the business development team at KTL, and presenting we have Barry Crow. He is our senior business consultant and in-house BI specialist. So we're just going to get started. I want to let you know how the webinar is going to run this morning. Everyone is muted. If you have any questions, please type them into the chat box, and we will do all questions at the end. So I just want to go over our agenda. We're going to start with what is Power BI? How can Power BI aid my organization? And then we'll go through discussion and demonstration of these 4 different types of Power BI.
Thanks, Mary. And let's just jump right into it. And I'm Barry Crow, and like Mary said, I am the senior business consultant here at KTL and our in-house BI specialist. And so, what is Power BI? So it's a very significant offering from Microsoft, and it's an add-in to your Microsoft Excel, either Office 365 if you've gone that way as a SaaS model, or your solution that Excel that you may have installed on your desktop. And what it is it's the ability to query your data with either through Power Query or Power Pivot, and it also has the ability to do visualizations on that data once you get the data into Excel through Power View and Power Map. The great thing, and we're not touching on it in this webinar, but with Office 365, you also have the ability to basically load this up to a SharePoint site, an Office 365 site, and share your data across your organization and across other people that you allow access to. So it could be outside the organization through clients or vendors that may want to see their data from a perspective of, say a vendor wanted to see data, outstanding invoices that haven't been paid yet, if you published that and made security around that. So the premise then is that this is a free add-in solution, and that makes it a lot affordable rather than going down the other way. So how will it help? So I can do real-time analytics on this data, whether, and there's several data source feeds on a SQL server, a flat file, my CRM data, if I have CRM. I can do merge data from other sources. So there's a lot of public sources out there like demographics, whether it be business demographics, personal demographics, census data. I can merge that stuff with my own data and basically do analysis on that and give my additional insights to my business. The premise that Microsoft has used for this Power BI is to really take it out of the hands after the data sources have been developed, but take it out of the hands of the IT department and put it in the end user perspective. Then the end user, can basically build on their insights that they know of, to put visualizations to it and make so you're getting those business decisions or visualizations back down to the end user without a lot of IT involvement, and it helps with the better business decisions and speeding up the decision-making process. The first two I'm going to talk about is the Power Pivot and the Power Query field. And the Power Pivot has been along longer than the Power Query. It's been in existence since the 2010 version of Excel, and the query is the new kid on the block. But basically, Power Pivot is a way to get a lot lot of data because it's using a newer technology to get data and compressed data into your Excel spreadsheet above what the limitations of Excel uses, so that you can analyze larger data sets, integrate the data in various sources, provide custom calculations on it, or derived fields or aggregates, and also be able to put key performance indexes and measure your data on those key performance indexes across your customer sales. So you had an average key performance index on where you wanted them to be, and you could put in basically a stoplight showing where people are red, yellow, or green as they approach the KPI that you've determined that from a company perspective that you'd like to do. So then there's Power Query, like I said, the new kid on the block. But this one allows you to get at data that may not be in-house, like the web searches. We see a lot of clients now going to a web version of CRM, online version. So old data feeds from that source data, SQL Azure, getting at your data that way from that data feed, and it allows you to do some of the same things, but also merge with fields, replace the data values or other modifications, and each one's processed in a step. So if you make a mistake, you can, and we'll show this later or here briefly, but if you make a mistake in that modification or transformation of the original data, it's easy to step back and undo the modification that you've made. Those are two of basically the gathering and initial analysis of the data. Then we'll touch on the visualization afterwards. So right now I'm going to get into and show basically the Power Query and the Power Pivot and how we can get at some of that data. So what I have is a basic Excel 2013 application with the add-ins already installed. I have the Power Query and the Power Pivot add-ins within the application. And as you can see in the Power Query, I have the ability to do an online search, get data from a website, from a file, so a flat file, application folder, other Excel reports. I have the ability to go to databases, SQL, Access, and multiple other ones, MySQL, Oracle. And then I have the other data sources. So there may be a SharePoint list or old data feed, which I would use for an online version of CRM. I can get my Active Directory Exchange data. There's a lot of ways to get data, and like I said, I can simply type in. This is a previous type in before, but I typed in demographic, and I can see just by hovering over the result of the query what that result looked like, and whether it may be something that I want to bring into my data source. And if I do want to load it, I just simply click on the load button down below into the system. So one of the things I'm going to look at today is really getting at the data that's on my SQL server. And I want to look at getting data from GP. And one of the things that I like to use as MVC for GP, but has published a lot of great views on SQL data and how to get at that data. So rather than scroll through the tables trying to find the data that I want, I usually come to this website, find a, something that interests me, and I can really use the select statement data right there to populate what's called the SQL statement. So rather than look and go through all of the tables associated with GP and then put my own SQL statement together or do my merging, I simply have used, in this demo, Victoria's script to help me in the process. So basically, I've established a connection to my SQL server, the database that I want to use, and in this instance, I did a SQL script rather than look at all the tables and select data that I needed. So basically, in my what the screen that popped up is the Power Query screen that allows me to now make modifications or transformations to my data. And I have above here the home screen that does some of the basic stuff of choosing and removing stuff, refreshing the data. I can rename or move the columns. I can split information, so say if I was looking at employee data and the first name and the last name came together from the file, I can split them using some type of delimiter. I can group data. Also, that I have additional ways to get at or transform the data, whether it be to fill the data in, pivot it, search for errors or formatting issues. That's it, how it was entered. And I can add columns and also make custom calculations. So I'm going to look at one of the first things that we talked about, and that's really just splitting a column. In this case, as an example, we're talking about the employees, but I'm going to do it by character just to show you, one, how it can be done, and two, how I can step back and remove what I've done to the column because it was a mistake. So I can, in this case, I'm just going to do it by number of characters, and I've easily split the column out that came through the SQL query into 4 different cells. And in this case, if it was a employee name that was delimited by a comma, I could use the comma as a character and put it into 2 cells. So I've made the modifications to the cell. I realize that I've made something in mistake, and I just want to step back. Here's my steps that I've applied to the transformation of the Power Query, and I can easily just click off of them and basically get back to my original query that I had run in this case. I can easily do that. I can by right-clicking, I can remove or duplicate, just remove a column totally. So I can remove that column, I can bring it back because I needed it for my calculations. But I can do those types of things, and if it's in the wrong order, I can easily drag it into a new order that I wanted in the calculation. So the next thing I'm going to do is just add a column to this spreadsheet. So the original calculation or query did not have an average sale, and so I want to put an average sales for this monthly data, and I already have a yearly total. So I'm going to take the yearly total and just insert it into the column formula over on the left-hand side, and I'm just going to divide it by 12. added a calculation to the transformation to give me average sales for each one of the customers for the year 2017. And from there, I can easily just load this into my spreadsheet. So I have the data now. I've done the transformation, and it can be refreshable from my SQL database. As data changes, I can get new data from the SQL table at any time. So some of the other things I can do once the data is loaded from the Power Query perspective is I can do Power Pivot on the data. And that is simply, I want to add this data from the Power Query into a model. So I add the data, and basically I've created my own model. And I can add summations on that data. So in this case, and let's go a little, step back a little bit, but then talk about some of the stuff up above. You know, I can get additional external data or Power Pivot, and there's the other advanced forms of managing my data and what table behavior is, but also inserting functions. So basically what I'm going to do is just add a summation to the average column. And it's just summing the average of that. By adding that summation, then I'm able to create KPIs off of that data point. And it's just what am I at? What do I want to, I'm going to, in this point, it's easier and quicker, but I'm going to use the absolute value. And so where do I want my average sale to be at? Say it's 1,000. And where do I want, so we talked about before the stoplight, where do I want the red, yellow, and green to be at from a perspective of, if I put this KPI on my Power View later, I can easily get a visual clue on how this is going to, from an analysis perspective, and customers I may need to look at, or doing performance indications on, say, a salesperson who I need to look at from that perspective. So I've easily created a KPI within Power Pivot that I can use later in my Power View documentation. So that's just a little simple, short, sweet demo of Power Query and Power Pivot capabilities. There's a lot more to discover and things that you can do with its capabilities, and I suggest that you take that knowledge that we're sharing here and explore it additionally for your organization and how it can help you. So the next two, and really are some of the key points of helping in analyzing the data once you've got that in there. Because as humans, we tend to gloss over a lot of big numbers that may be in a spreadsheet of thousands or more rows long. But if you put a quick little visualization to it, graph, a chart, something, it's a lot easier to understand from that perspective. And the two tools that Microsoft has given us for that is the Power View and the Power Map data. So from a Power View perspective, obviously we get to drag that data out onto the Power View application and then create a chart or graph on it. We can filter that chart or graph. We can put segment or splicers to it, so you can have timeline splicers so that you can limit the data. Someone that comes in there and views your power view can, they like the data, but they want to see it for March instead of May. They can select those applications. So it's kind of a dynamic report in that aspect that you can, you don't have to just pigeonhole it to one particular month or year. You can have slicers in there to do different customers, different timelines, those types of things. Similar, you can do there's certain highlights or cross-filtering that you can do, and that has very little learning curve from that perspective as some of the other applications out there from a visual standpoint. The good thing about all this is that almost every user is familiar with Excel, so it's just an add-in that they've added to it from a business perspective. A lot of people have been using Excel for years. So then once we get in a Power View, maybe some of our data can have city-state information, and we want to look at that on a map so we can, pinpoint where all of our sales are coming from, or maybe if we have item information associated with that sale too, maybe we want to plot at this particular item is coming from this jurisdiction, or something like that. And it's really just a data modeling on a different point. It's a different chart. You can have custom maps that you can put in there. You can create animations to those maps. So maybe it's a heat map, and the heat changes based on the day, month, as the animation changes throughout the timeline that you created it for. So basically what I'm going to go to now is a quick demo on the Power View, Power Map capability. What I'm going to do is take the data that I previously loaded from Power Query and Power Map and create a quick visualization on that. So you have the tabs across the top for Power Pivot, Power Query. And we have the Insert tab here. That's where the Power View basically lies, and it's the right here Power View. So I can quickly create a Power View. And it's defaulted to my data set or my query that I originally had in the system. So it's brought in some data. If I don't want that data, I can easily click off of it and limit that stuff. Easily drag in additional data. So in this case, say I wanted to see the numbers. I can add different points to the form. So in this case, I'm going to build a quick little table with the states and the yearly totals. For that. And I'm going to create a chart off of this data. So I'm just going to come up here to column chart and put stack, and it instantly changes it to a stacked chart. I can see all the data points. If I scroll over any one of the states, I can see the yearly totals. I can change, like right now it's sorting by state. I can change it to descending, ascending, converting. And I can also apply filters to this or to the whole Power View. And filter section is right here. It's easily filtered by just dragging the filter across. In this case, I'm just doing a yearly total, but say that I just want to see, everybody above 43,000. You can easily see the states now that meet that perspective, and it then changed my query up above to give me the customer name and the city and state and their exact sales. So it's easy to do. You can add additional things in there as well from that perspective. So I can go back into the query, add additional stuff, say if I wanted to see state information or city information and the average sales. Let's see if I go. So earlier I did a KPI, and now I've just drug in the status of that that KPI into this Power View area. And right now, given the limited data that we have in GP Fabricam company, obviously everything's showing green, but if I had additional data and had refined my data and obviously I would have my stop and go status here that would show me what I needed to do, or in this case maybe I needed to look at the customer name instead, and so where that data is, and also bring out my filter so it doesn't filter anything down. So now I can see from that KPI perspective what customers are good and what customers aren't. And obviously I have some green customers here like they're in fifth, and have other customers that are in the red perspective that I may need attention to and see what's happening from a sales perspective for those particular customers. So it's just a quick down and dirty spreadsheet, basically Power View off of the original Power Query data. Obviously I can clean it up by adding a title. I can publish it for other people to view, either through my Excel spreadsheet or, like I said before, the Office 365 site. Oh, for some reason it looks like my map disappeared, so I must be having technical difficulties on that. But the easy thing is that the map capabilities, and sorry about the technical difficulties, I'll have to figure that out later. But I could easily bring in my map, just click on the map application, and basically take this data points that I've had here and transform it into the map of the U.S., showing the states and the cities that data would come from, and basically put blob points or heat maps like I discussed before that would be useful in seeing from an area perspective where all my customers are coming from, or where I may be selling a lot of one item and not selling very much of another, and whether I need to look at that and whether there's someone else that's selling that product in that area at a cheaper price or a better quality, or maybe my sales sales